I was listening to our previous speaker, Carrie. I know she was talking about humming and stuff like that, make yourself feel better. You know, when I talk about my personal journey from institutions, I could talk about, being put in federal institutions, provincial institutions, medical institutions, mental institutions. I've been to all of them. But, while I was going through that, I was humming too, but I was mostly humming and hawing, But, like when I got caught by the police, or for instance, I go, hmm. Or when the judge sends me to prison, I'd go, hmm. Or while I was in jail and I was missing her, I'd just be, hmm. Yeah, and you know what? It made me feel better. Yeah. Even though I was, all those things. But when I talk about my personal own journey, reintegration wasn't actually a word in my vocabulary before. That's a more of a, administration word, That's the system's word for, getting out of jail and becoming a law-abiding citizen. I can say that the word reintegration now is part of my vocabulary. I use it almost every day when I'm working with the men that I'm serving. I do serve men here in the community that are in federal institutions. I support them. And I use my own experiences to to assist me in serving the men of our community that are in federal institutions. First of all, I know how it is there. I know how the dynamics there when you're there. How it is, the rules, and so it's very easy for me to support those men. In that sense. But it's also very hard for me to support them, especially if they're doing long stretches, doing life sentences. How can you tell somebody I know how you feel when you don't? And I never do, right? So that's the most important thing. But the one thing that I can always say is that I'll be here, as long as time permits me, to be here with you. When I talk about my own personal journey, I have to acknowledge, getting back to the ways, getting back to the teachings, getting back to the sacred items. I never wanted to, I never thought I would have a bundle. I never thought that I would, that would be something that would be a goal of mine. I was always on the fringes. I always knew it was a commitment to have a bundle and to carry sacred items with you. But I think all the choices that I've made since my last incarceration, which was in 2015, I got out then, but I came back to Wiki, and not in a good way. I came back in a wheelchair because of drug use. I was an IV drug user, and I got an epidural abscess on my spine from using IV drugs, and it had to be surgically removed. I got a great big scar on my back, right up my spine, and so when I got back home, it was only supposed to be for a short time. It was only until I got back on my feet again, then I was gonna get out of here, and go back to my life out there. But it wasn't. It was when I got back that I realized that with Pumacum, I missed home, and I realized that a big part of my journey outside of Pumacum, I was always missing that part of my life. A place to call home. That sense of belonging. I always felt like I always knew what Pumacum was my home. I always knew that, but I never really held it close to my heart in the sense that, when I said I was from Pumacum, I puffed my chest or whatever, And, but, it's, when I got back home, I realized that everything I needed to get better was here in Pumacum. Everything I needed to get well again was here in Pumacum. The people I needed to assist me and support me were all here in Pumacum. And as much as I associate Pumacum with my traumas, my misfortunes, because when I was here as a kid, I was traumatized here. sexually abused here. You know, there's some family violence at home that occurred, and the end result was suicide. You know, I had to, get trauma from that as well. You know, that's where I got most of my trauma, was discovering one of my family members who committed suicide. You know, that was really hard as a 9-year-old boy. You know, it's hard to process that when you're 9 years old. You know, so I lived with that for a long time. And then anytime I thought about coming home, I always thought about that. I always thought, no, I don't want to go back there. You know, why do I want to go back there? You know, that's where all the bad things happened to me. You know, and when I got back home, I realized that there was a few things that I had to put aside. And one of them was that view in my, because when I was going through my own stuff, I wasn't too kind to myself, eh? I wasn't kind to myself at all, and that's just a common thing with people who are not doing well and they don't have wellness in their life. You know, you wake up some mornings and you don't feel good about what you did the day before, and you don't feel good about what you got to do today. You know, I was a drug addict. I was an alcoholic. You know, I'm a dad. So all that stuff affect my fatherhood. And my children. And so there was a, when I got back home, I really had to make a choice, and that's the bottom line, is we have to choose to be well. You know, we have to choose to be well. We can't, expect anybody to tell us what to do or where to go, but we have to ask for help too. And part of asking for help is, it falls under one of our teachings is humility. Eh? When we talk about humility, I didn't know what that word even meant before. I've heard people say humble, but humility, I didn't understand what that meant. It wasn't until that I started asking for help, because I knew I couldn't help myself anymore. I tried and I tried and I tried. I can do this, I got this, And but it always ended with me. And I don't like to use the word failure, but it also ended with me not being successful. And then when I wasn't successful, I would kick myself in the ass, and I'd be like, why? Why did I even try? Why am I going to try again? And, so I went through a lot of that, trying to help myself and trying to be quiet about it, trying to let people know that maybe I'm not as bad as I was, But it wasn't until I started asking for help. And accepting that help was a big part of it. It's not just asking for it, it's accepting it. And then when you get the help, they're not there to help you do it for you. And this is what I understand really today in my position at the Become Justice program. I've helped a few men and women while I've been working there. And I every now and again, one of them, when they're doing well and they'll come to me and they've done well, they'll come to me and they'll say, thank you, John. Thank you for helping me get to where I'm at today. And I couldn't have done it without you. And I always tell them, well, you could have done it without me. Remember, you're the one who did the work. I'm the one, and I'm just the tool. You're the hand. So, a tool, just all by itself, is just a tool. It just sits there until the hand picks it up. Now, a tool does need a hand for it to work, for it to do its work, what it's meant to do. And so, and that's also a place in my humility as well, when people come and thank me for helping them. I turn it on them and I say, you gotta thank yourself. Again, I'm just a tool, and thank you for that, But one of the biggest things when we talk about kindness that really, really helped me was the teaching of kindness, eh? And the one teaching that I learned was sitting around the fire, because I am a scout out. I do sit around the fire, not so much these days, but it's what